We have used number lines to compare whole numbers in the past. I know by looking at this number line that 1 is less than 2 because 2 is on the right. It's further right than 1. But looking at this number line, I can tell that 2 is less than 3 because 3 is further on the right. Today we're going to use number lines to compare fractions. We know that fractions are between two whole numbers, and they're just breaking down that whole number into a smaller piece. Just like when you compare numbers, the fraction that is further to the right is going to be the higher fraction. Let's use a real-life example. Let's say I have 1/3 yard of red ribbon and I have 2/3 yard of blue ribbon, and I want to know which is longer. I know that since the denominators are the same, I can look at the numerator, and the highest numerator is going to be the higher fraction. But let's use a number line just to see. Here's my number line, and I'm going to divide it up. Since the numerator is 3, I'm going to divide it up into 3 equal pieces. The first one will be 1 out of 3. The second one will be 2 out of 3. And over here where the 1 is, it could be 3 out of 3, but we know that 3 over 3 equals 1. If I look at my number line, I've got 1/3 and I've got 2/3. 2/3 is over more to the right than 1/3, which means 2/3 is greater than 1/3. That means that I have more blue ribbon than I do red ribbon. Let's say I have 2 pieces of string. One piece of string is 1/2 yard, and the other piece of string is 1/3 yard. If you notice, they have different denominators. So then we look at the numerators, and they have the same numerator. Now we know the trick to use when they have the same numerator, but let's do this on a number line. Since they have different denominators, I'm going to have to draw 2 number lines. I want to make sure that my number lines are even so that I can find the correct answer. If they're both different sizes, then it's not going to work. They have to be the same size whole. So here we have 2 number lines. The first one I'm going to divide up into 2 because the denominator is 2. That means 2 equal pieces. And I know that when it's divided up into 2 equal pieces, this piece is going to be half. Now I look at the denominator for the next one. It's 3. So I'm going to divide it up into 3 equal pieces. The first piece is going to be 1/3. The second piece is going to be 2/3. And then I compare. I have 1/3 yard and 1/2 yard. Well, 1/2 falls in the middle right here. 1/3 falls to the left right here. So if I look, 1/2 is further over to the right, which means 1/2 is greater than 1/3. So if I were to write that down, I would say 1/2 is greater than 1/3. And I knew this because when the numerators are the same, you look at the denominators. And the smaller the denominator, the bigger the piece. So my bigger piece of string is 1/2 yard. It's the same as when we compare fractions using fraction strips, but instead of using fraction strips, we're going to use number lines. So here I'm going to line up my 2 number lines, make sure they're even, and I'm going to label as my zeros, and I'm going to label my ones. Then I'm just going to draw it out. Here I have 2 6. Well, I know I have to create my number line. I need to divide it up into 6 equal pieces. So here I go dividing it up into 6 equal pieces, and I'm going to label 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6. And I can put 6/6, but it's the same as saying 1. My next one is thirds, so I'm going to divide my number line into 3 equal pieces. So here's 1/3, 2/3, and I'm going to label it. Now let's compare. My first one is 2 6, so I'm just going to draw a line down here because this is where it lines up. And my other fraction was 2/3, so I'm just going to draw a line here. And if I look at that number line, I can see that 2/3 is greater than 2/6. So I would say 2/3 is greater than 2/6. So it's the same as using a fraction strip, but drawing them on a number line makes it a lot easier when you don't have access to a fraction strip. So let's practice comparing fractions on a number line.